Skin has evolved weapons for predation, armor for protection, and the means to move. From fish to dinosaurs to us. This is the incredible untold story of the organ that makes it all possible: skin. The shark is famous as the killer of the seas. Its jaws and teeth are the stuff of legend. But the shark can't deliver its bite without its amazing speed in water. Even its skin is deadly.
If you look at the structure of the teeth and the scales, they're almost identical. What we call dermal denticles, or skin teeth, that form the entire outer layer of the skin of the shark.
The shark's skin is razor sharp, built in a tight diamond pattern, so hydrodynamic that it's the basis for the advanced competitive swimsuit design, and so sharp that if a predator tries to attack a shark from behind, it will be badly cut. There are few creatures that can fight the shark, but there are some that can hide. To avoid vicious predators like sharks, the octopus changes its shape, color, and texture in an instant to look like rock and algae.
In this evolutionary arms race between predator and prey, you have this magnificent skin being evolved, and it's in response to the visual predators that are out there.
Skin for predation, skin for escape. Just two of the phenomenal abilities evolved by the massive organ that seems to be a simple barrier to the outside world.
We don't tend to think about skin as an organ, but it is. Unlike a heart or a liver, it's an organ that is spread over the exterior of our body. And we see skin performing many important functions for animals, from species recognition to mating behavior to protection from predators and from the environment.
Skin has evolved countless different ways across the animal spectrum, becoming nails, fur, hooves, and horns. Skin has evolved to meet the different needs of different species.
This is an amazing course of evolution, that the rudimentary cells in skin have evolved in their own course to provide, in some animals, hair, in some feathers, and in others, scales.
But for the first 200 million years of animal evolution, the story of skin was confined to the seas. Scientists believe that the first skin-like structure to appear belonged to some of the earliest animals to exist on Earth.
Jellyfish are thought to have emerged something of the order of 700 million years ago.
Peter Anderson studies jellyfish to find clues about how skin first evolved. The jellyfish was one of the first creatures to be able to move freely in the water, encased in a single layer of cells that worked together to protect and respond to the world outside. It was also one of the first creatures to use a protective layer as an attack weapon. Sting cells sense nearby prey and lash out in an instant.
The sting cell provides the animal with a great ability to capture food and to defend itself, and that has allowed them to survive so successfully.
But the jellyfish does not have a true skin. What we recognize as skin began with vertebrate fish. Fish grew a two-layer covering over 500 million years ago. From the start, these first creatures with backbones were a success, and eventually evolved into a world of animals with backbones, including human beings.
As far as we know, this evolutionarily novel structure, this two-layered skin, first appeared in the earliest fishes. The skin of vertebrates is a unique kind of structure.
John Long is a professor of biological sciences at Vassar College.
Fish skin is made up of two very distinctive tissue layers, the epidermis and the dermis.
The tough epidermis on the surface, like the jellyfish exterior, forms a barrier to the outside world. But the supple dermis that lies just beneath makes all the difference. This amazingly fertile system of cells would anchor the roots of many different skin structures. The first of them was fish scales. Scales arose during a time of vicious predation in the seas. The Cambrian, killers like Anomalocaris, and the giant Ducalosteus sliced through defenseless prey. And even if dunk was avoided, smaller fish battled in their own weight class. Some fish needed body armor just to have a chance at survival.
What's interesting about fish skin is that the scales, in fact, are made of some of the same materials that bone and structures in our teeth are made out of. And the result is that fish have a strong, sturdy layer, essentially of bone. This scale comes from the bottom layer of the skin, from the dermis.
Scales grow in a tight pattern, overlapping like shingles on a roof.
Each one of these scales pulls off, and look at the size of that. So there's a lot of overlap there.
But not all scales are alike.
The scales on fishes are really variable. Some fishes, like catfish, have no scales at all. And then there are other fish that look like they're wearing a coat of armor. What this says to us is that evolution has acted repeatedly on fish skin, depending on the ecology of different kinds of fishes.
A fish's environment and the predators within it help dictate the evolution of its skin. And most fish, scaled or not, would evolve another strategy for survival.
One of the things that people get all excited about when they pick up a fish is how slimy they are. Fish produce mucus.
The slippery mucus rises from the glands in the dermis and keeps the fish free from clinging parasites. It helps to quickly heal wounds, sometimes contains toxins to discourage predators, and even may help the fish swim faster by reducing turbulence. For the fish, slime is good. The basic fish skin system of epidermis and dermis, plus a coating of mucus, and often scales, once evolved, worked so well that it remains in place to this day. After over 200 million years of evolution, descendants of the first fish ventured up on land and found fewer predators and plentiful food. But this new environment was harsh. If they were to survive here, they would have to evolve a far tougher skin.
When you're living in an aquatic, a watery environment, the skin can be a little bit more giving. The minute you come up onto land, you've got some real major things you've got to overcome.
Throughout the history of the vertebrates, skin has always had the basic function that it keeps the internal environment constant, even though there are changes outside the animal. But when vertebrates came up on land, there was a new requirement on skin, and that was to avoid drying out. And so the skin that fish have isn't sufficient.
We went from skin that was wet all the time to skin that had to be dry.
Land held promise if skin could evolve.